Michael Nunn, nicknamed Second to None, was one of the most talented and fluid southpaws of the late 1980s and early 1990s. An excellent boxer with good hand speed, and 10 first-round knockouts. Born the 14th of April 1963, in Davenport, Iowa, USA. Nunn had an outstanding career record of 58 wins, with 4 losses. He won 38 fights by knockout. Nunn held the IBF Middleweight Championship from 1988 to 1991. He also held the WBA Super Middleweight Championship from 1992 to 1994. Nunn was unfortunately too late to secure a fight with any of the four kings, Leonard, Hagler, Hearns and Duran. The super fight with any of them would have been great for the rising star, but as he was emerging, and they all seemed to be seeking high-profile fights to enhance their legacies, he got none of them. Nunn's signature win was beating the tough Sumbu Kalambe in 1989. Nunn's performance against Kalambe is considered his masterpiece. Kalambe was a highly respected, savvy technician, with a granite chin, who many thought would give Nunn trouble. Kalambe was the first man to defeat the great Mike McCallum. He had also beaten the undefeated Harold Graham, and was considered a tough matchup. However, in the fight, Nunn set his feet and ended the fight with a single, spectacular left hook in the first round. It was named the Ring Magazine's Knockout of the Year and established Nunn as a pound-for-pound star. Nunn also beat Iran Barkley. He also beat the undefeated Frank Tate, along with Marlon Starling and Don Curry, who both moved up in weight to fight the middleweight king. His middleweight title reign was ended against the hungry future great James Toney in 1991, entering the fight as a heavy favorite in his hometown of Davenport. Nunn dominated the first 10 rounds with his speed and movement. However, in the 11th round, the rising star and the determined Toney lived up to his nickname Lights Out, and caught Nunn with a devastating left hook that dropped him. Toney finished the job shortly after, handing Nunn his first professional loss and a major career setback. Nunn fought on and won the super middleweight title in 1992. At super middleweight he made 4 successful defenses, but after close losses to Steve Littles and Frankie Lyles, Nunn moved up to the light heavyweight division. After some good wins at the weight, Nunn was ready for a title fight. Unfortunately for Nunn, he was on the wrong end of a controversial split decision loss to Graziano Rocchigiani. That defeat and Father Time all but finished Nunn's elite ambitions, but Nunn still came back. Nunn went on to record a good win against William Guthrie late in his career to remind us of his talent and fighting spirit. The missed fights. During his peak, Nunn was often avoided or fell victim to boxing politics, leaving several dream matches on the table. Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. were the kings of the British middleweight scene. While fans hoped for some transatlantic showdowns, Nunn's loss to Toney and his move to super middleweight shifted the landscape, and the financial, promotional stars never aligned. Roy Jones Jr. This fight was touted a few times in the 90s. You would have to favor Jones Jr., due to his youth and speed, but it was an interesting matchup. Both were ultra-athletic fighters and could both punch and box, but for whatever reason the fight never materialized. Roy Jones went on to stardom, while Nunn's career began to lose momentum. Next, what about a potential fight between Nunn and Mike the Body Snatcher McCallum? Often avoided by many, Mike McCallum was the ultimate, high-risk, low-reward matchup. Nunn's team was sometimes accused of protecting their star from McCallum's elite technical pressure. That fight should definitely have happened. What about a fight between Nunn and Julian Jackson? Well, Jackson at the time was regarded as the hardest hitter in the middleweight division during Nunn's reign, and this fight could have, and should have happened, as Don King promoted them both. Unfortunately, Nunn outgrew the middleweight division. A fight with Jackson would have been the ultimate, speed versus power, matchup, but Jackson's eye injuries, and the Jackson and Gerald McClellan shootout took them on different paths and it never happened. Other potential matchups missed included John Mugabe, Steve Collins, Harold Graham, and Gerald McClellan. Let's face it, 80s and 90s star Michael Nunn was on the wrong side of the street, and his career, although great, could have given us so much more, which is sad to say for such a talented fighter. In the UK there was Nigel Benn, Michael Watson, and Eubank Sr. They were all fighting each other, and the Dan Sherrys and Sugar Boy Malingers of this world, mainly for the WBO belt. Unfortunately, Nunn couldn't get a fight with any of them. Jackson and McClellan were also under Don King, and were fighting what's left, including each other. Roy Jones and Hopkins hadn't emerged fully yet, and Nunn Carol Graham, and Mike McCallum, were high-risk, low-reward fighters. We missed out on so many top fights back then. Nunn, after his last points loss to Graziano Rocchigiani at light heavyweight, won a few more fights, before he faced prison and legal issues. In 2002, Michael Nunn was arrested after purchasing a kilogram of cocaine from an undercover agent at a hotel in Davenport. He was sentenced to 24 years in federal prison for conspiracy to distribute cocaine. He maintained his innocence regarding the scale of the charges but served a significant portion of his sentence, before being released in 2019. Michael Nunn was officially elected to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, as part of the class of 2025. His induction is a recognition of his elite skill set, his reign as a two-weight world champion, and his victories over Sambu Kalambe, Frank Tate, Iran Barkley, Donald Curry and Marlon Starling, were a showcase of his skills and talent. Nunn is very underrated and unappreciated. Some food for thought: he came along after Hagler and before Roy Jones Jr. and ran into James Toney. How unlucky can you be? But the question remains, how do you think a peak Michael Nunn would have fared against Roy Jones Jr., Bernard Hopkins, Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank Sr., Julian Jackson, Mike McCallum, Gerald McClellan, in the early 90s? Please leave your opinions in the comment section, and thanks for watching.